Hey, welcome back, everybody. Time again for another episode of Living Hope, your journey living with pancreatic cancer. Today, well, we got some hope. It's a hopeful message today here. And I'm going to let Roberta Lunar, our hopeful survivor, explain more about it here. I'm feeling good about this one today, Roberta.
Yes, I am too. It's a good day. It's beautiful outside and it's great. So we're going to move on. And as we recognize April as Cancer Prevention and Early Detection Month, I think we're going to mainly emphasize on maybe cancer prevention. And today we're honored to have Andrea O'Donnell join us again. Andrea's journey is both inspiring and deeply moving. She's the founder of Raising Roots Nutrition and recently published a cookbook. After confronting her own health challenges and the heartbreaking loss of her mother to pancreatic cancer, Andrea has transformed her anger into action. She has since dedicated her life to pursuit of wellness through whole foods and clean living. Andrea's going to join us and share her insights. And exactly what is clean living? First, explain that. What's clean living?
I love that you brought that up. Well, first off, thank you so much for having me on the show again. I'm so excited to be here, and just really what you said is really emphasizing cancer prevention and living a holistic and healthy life. And so a big part of that is the clean living. Is diet is just one piece of the puzzle. I tell people all the time, even though I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, I don't just look at food. I want to also look at the stress in one's life. How is our sleep impacting it? Our environmental toxins, so what we're breathing in the air around us, and even what's on our food and what's on our skin. You know, our skin is our largest organ. What chemicals are we ingesting at all times? Looking at all these pieces, including hydration, how that impacts our health.
Did you know that, Roberta, that your skin is your largest organ? It's not your liver, it's not your heart, not your lung. Your skin.
I actually learned that from Andrea.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Is it? How do you define it? Because an organ, I guess, does something. Does the skin? The skin doesn't seem to do anything. It just sits over your body here. Does it have a function other than that? Does it absorb stuff?
Oh, yes, and I know dermatologists can go in this, for hours.
Just seems
but
dead skin. The skin doesn't do anything. It just sheds or whatever.
But it frees. It actually is our first layer of defense. So the epithelial cells, they take the toxins, whatever, that could be lotion, that can be what's coming in through the air, waters, and it's actually absorbing that through the layers. And it uses that to dissipate toxins. So when we sweat, and we may not even realize that even when we're not sweating, it's releasing toxins. But if you ever done like sauna, and you kind of like lick your, I don't know how many of you are licking your arms, but if you lick your arm and it's kind of salty. Yeah, try it next time. That
okay.
is the toxins.
What are you doing in the sauna? I'm licking my arm.
I want some salt.
I need some salt.
I need some sodium.
All right, so
that's all. Yeah,
because we don't think of our skin as anything but a natural set of clothing. It's we want to protect it. We want to keep it safe. We don't want it to get sunburned or whatever here, but we don't think of it doing anything. At least I don't. But you're saying it really does. It's a living, breathing.
It's actually a lot of times one of the first places that will indicate issues: rosacea, acne, eczema, dry, itchy skin. A lot of times people come and they're like, oh, I've always had this dry, itchy skin, or I've had bumps on the back of my arms, or whatever it may be. Those are all indication and symptoms that your body is out of balance.
And isn't dry, itchy skin one of those generic symptoms of pancreatic cancer? Could be one of the things people complain of before
it could be itching. That was something my mom had, was a lot of itching, and I've talked to a few others have had that same, and it's something they don't look at as being part of a symptom.
Itching. So, you just okay, here, put this cream on it and go away.
Exactly. And there is more to that, the itching of like why that happens, but absolutely. So I hope people start looking at their skin.
I'm going to let you two do most of the talking, even though I want to do most of the talking this one, because I really believe in this topic. You're an anti-sugar advocate here. And so I just want to get that in. We were talking offline. I want to make sure we get this in. Sugar is the enemy of good health. Sugar is not something that your body needs, wants, and in fact, maybe this is controversial, but do you think sugar actually can cause cancer, or can certainly, some say, feed cancer if it's already in your body, that cancer grows on? I've heard that too. Is there any truth to any of that, or tell us about the bad things that sugar does?
Oh gosh, I can go on this
I know.
for days. But really, essentially, you kind of want to break down. So we're talking about cancer prevention. So
Right.
I kind of look at 5 main parts in supporting the system. One is you want to detox the liver. You want to reduce toxin loads.
How do you detox the liver? I don't know. I don't know how to. Do you just stop
I'll get
drinking?
into all that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, yes. But reducing stress, balancing blood sugar, and the number one most important to answer your question is reducing inflammation. Now, I am not going to say that sugar creates cancer. There's not enough research out there, though I do believe that it's a strong proponent of it, but I do believe and I know that it feeds cancer. And the difference is when you're feeding cancer, we have these genes that are turned on and off by our epigenetics, by our environment. And the sugar is basically feeding the bad cells, the bad bacteria in our body, which creates inflammation. Inflammation is the name of the game. That's why I always tell my clients I'm an inflammation hunter and an inflammation killer.
And just to support that, we do a show with a guy named Dr. Trin, who's on the board of Alzheimer's. His number one thing is Alzheimer's, inflammation of the brain. Anything you can do to stop your brain from being inflamed doesn't mean you're not going to get Alzheimer's, but if you keep inflaming your brain, you're going to get it worse, or it's going to last longer, or whatever. It's all about inflammation. We never think about inflammation. I don't.
Right.
In my body. Do you think about inflammation, Roberta?
I do now. I didn't used to, but I can tell, because that's a lot of the aches and pains and stiffness when I go in. If they look at anything, then it's probably being caused from inflammation. But it wasn't something I thought about before getting cancer.
And inflammation is what? Just the body's reaction or defense trying to fight off something? Like if you...
That's a really good question. Yeah. So inflammation is that there's a lot of things that can create inflammation, but let's think of the most simplistic terms. You cut your hand, right? It inflames. It gets a little red, a little swollen.
Right.
And the body's job is to bring all the good red blood cells and everything to help anti-inflame it, reduce inflammation, and then it heals. But internally, when we have all these open cuts from, again, too much stress in our life, too much sugar, processed foods, unhealthy oils, toxin loads. So we talked just about clean living. All these things, think of them as cuts in the body. So the immune system doesn't know where to go to reduce inflammation. And on top of that, we don't have enough things such as omega-3, which is a natural essential fatty acid to reduce inflammation. So we have too much omega-6, not enough omega-3. So we're inflaming. That's where Roberta was talking about. You feel puffy, you feel bloated, that water weight, all this stuff internally, that creates inflammation. And so your body doesn't have a chance to heal.
All right, one last question, and then I'll turn my thing off here and let you guys go at it here. So inflammation is bad. There is some theory or evidence that cancer is fed by too much sugar. Inflammation is bad anyway. This particular inflammation caused by sugar may encourage, feed, grow the cancer that's already in your body. We're not sure if it actually causes it or not, but if you want to stop it from growing and stop it from growing, sugar is certainly something you want to cut out. And that's something you did in your life, right, Roberta? You cut a lot of the sugar out.
I did, yeah. I went back, and it was really hard, especially I had to give it my Dr. Pepper, which was tough.
Yeah, which is solid sugar. It's just a can of sugar here, yeah.
But I did, and I started noticing the difference. And now when I'm getting off track, I start noticing the difference again, some of the things happening again, because I'm not doing exactly what I know I should be doing.
So here's my last question. How do I get rid of sugar? Because when you get into it, everything has sugar or a sugar substitute in it. Last time you were here, I held up proudly some water that says, it's a flavored water, no sugar. And you said, yeah, but it's aspartame or something else in here. It's almost impossible to get rid. Once upon a time, you couldn't find sugar 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Now, the more you make me look, I can't seem to find anything that doesn't have sugar in it.
Yes, that is very true. 97% of foods on the shelves contain sugar of some sort.
So we got to go back to growing our own food and
Yes, yeah, and all that. But to answer your question, it's a very simple answer, but it's all about detoxing your body, going back to the liver, and changing your diet and lifestyle. Now, I know it's easier said than done. This is why I work very closely with a lot of people, because there's accountability in
Yes.
there to help support somebody, because it's not easy. Like you said, we are on this uphill battle. You're looking out this Mount Everest, what I call multi-billion-dollar food industry, which is doing everything in their power to keep us addicted and to keep us without any control.
because
And
that's the other
so,
thing. Sugar not only tastes good, it's addictive. Your body, you crave it.
yes, it is 8 times more addictive than drugs like cocaine.
Oh, jeez. No
They
wonder
say that
I
it's
love sugar.
yeah, if it was discovered today, they would actually have a prescription and be behind a pharmaceutical table.
Wow.
Can you imagine saying, I want to bake a cake? Let me go get a prescription for the sugar.
No.
That's what it
I
would
want a
be
candy
like.
bar today. Can I go get one, Doc? Here, yeah, here. Write you a
Exactly.
prescription for a candy bar or a Coke.
Exactly. So it's about these baby steps. And a big piece of that is mindset. I've worked again with dozens of clients. I've worked with numerous people on my sugar detox program, and I'm about to launch my big program that really focuses on this, but it's really mindset. So finding your why, your core motivator, that at the end of the day, when you see that chocolate bar, when you see the In-N-Out, the cupcakes, whatever, all thrown at your face, how can you say no and know that you're worth more? So that's a big piece, is mindset, and then learning little tips and strategies. I mean, Roberta knows that we are constantly working on this, right?
Yes, definitely.
I said I felt happy coming in. Now I feel sad. I feel like this is impossible. I'm gonna
No,
go off and go in the corner and eat a sugar
not
bar, my last
impossible.
one here, before I give it
No.
up. And I'm gonna let you guys talk. But I thank you, Roberta, for because I saw this. My parents both passed away from different kinds of cancers, and that was something they both struggled with, to get rid of it, and they wondered why they hadn't been told to do this earlier.
I don't think a lot of doctors, I mean, and for one, I know when you get to a certain point during your treatment, they get to a point to where they don't really care what you're eating, that they want you to get the most because you need to get the weight and whatnot on.
You've been told it, and then my parents were told it. Just
Yeah.
eat anything.
Yeah.
I don't care. Eat at this point in time. She's got cancer or something. Just eat anything.
Go have a malts, go have your double cheeseburger or whatever it is, just so they can get the weight on. And maybe that's something that we can talk about later, is what we can do dietarily that might be more beneficial and healthier, but to still do the eight.
Well, nobody told my parents this. Nobody told me this, and I'm crazy about sugar, as were most people in my family. And gee, isn't it a surprise that they got cancer?
Before we go too much further, and I should have done this earlier, but I just want to make sure that everybody realizes, we are not doctors here. We're not offering any
Yes,
medical
no.
advice, but just talking in general and just something to have resources so that you can look at. But we're not giving you medical advice. We're not telling you to do or do anything, but just want you to have the proper resources.
And start a
'cause-
conversation with your doctor
Yeah,
and see
exactly.
what they say.
And I've been doing under his program, and I'm going to be going around the third time, and hopefully the third time is the charm. So but it is. I've learned a lot, but we can talk about that later. But what I do want to know is, for a lot of people, is what dietary changes can we make to lower our risk of not getting cancer? I know one of them is sugar, but like you say, everything you go and look on the shelf. I mean, you taught me to read labels, and I'm reading labels, and I'm spending almost the whole day there because I'm picking up something, reading it, and putting it back because of all the sugar that I find in it. But what kind of changes can we do to hopefully?
So there's a lot of things, and I kind of want to first circle back to what was said earlier about, I don't want this to be depressing. I want to bring hope. That's the whole point of your podcast, and really starting that conversation with your doctors and bringing in nutritionists is so important, because doctors actually are not taught nutrition in med school. And I want to give you a quick story on that. I had an anesthesiologist call me the other day to hire me as a nutritionist, and was explaining how he was gaining weight. He knew the term leaky gut, and he's like, I just don't feel good. I'm having all these symptoms. And I said, I'm going to ask you a really dumb question, but don't you learn all this in medical school, how to heal? And he said, no, we don't have nutrition courses. And he's an anesthesiologist. He's like, we are taught how to write prescriptions. And then obviously the bigger things like anesthesiology or whatever the specific. And this is not to downtrot doctors. This is really to emphasize the importance of advocating for your own health and really doing your own research, because it is so imperative, and nutrition is so imperative to our health, and to look into that. So to answer your question on that, dietary changes. So I always tell people that it's better to start slow to make it sustainable. I don't expect anybody to just give up everything tomorrow, because 9 out of 10 times they're going to end up going back. And that's okay too, because it's all a journey, right? But starting slow is introducing quality over quantity. So looking at high quality protein, that is your grass-fed beef, your free-range chicken, your cage-free eggs, plant-based protein, your quinoa, hemp seeds, so on and so forth like that, including healthy fats. So again, your omega-3s, we really want to increase your omega-3. So wild-caught fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, avocados, olive oil, all of these are really beneficial because fatty acids really help to create a protective lining around our cells, which again then helps our organs. You said obviously reducing sugar, but increasing fiber. Fiber is one that most Americans don't consume enough of. And fiber is mostly found in fruits and vegetables and whole grains. But the reason why fiber is so important is, I say it kind of acts like a magnet. When you eat like an apple, for example, it is going to spike your blood sugar a little bit, but the fiber's job is to help lower it so that it spikes longer, versus if you had a cookie, it would just shoot up because there's no fiber bringing it down. So the fiber helps to reduce the blood sugar. It also acts as a magnet to pull toxins to get out of your system. So it helps to bulk stool, it helps with motility, and we want to release the toxins out of our system. We don't want it in there. So fiber is really important. It actually helps to feed your gut microbiome, so your good bacteria, which is really important for cancer prevention. And then I always recommend people to increasing antioxidant rich foods. I'm sure you've heard of the term antioxidant, but things such as goji berries, pecans, walnuts, cilantro, leafy greens, especially the dark ones. Even dark chocolate has polyphenols and antioxidants, but you just don't want to have all of that, right? And you want to focus on 70% or better. Those are some main things that I would focus on, and making sure that you're hydrated, making sure that you're drinking enough water.
You mentioned, I mean, excuse me, years ago we had like the pyramid for, food. Excuse me. What does that look like today? I know it's different than when growing up. So what would that look like today?
Well, I always kind of joke that it's more of an upside down pyramid, where our carbs, which was on the bottom, should really be more up at the top. But we should be focused on complex carbs, such as our leafy greens, our fruits, our whole grains. And complex by nature means that it has fiber. So you have two forms of carbs. You have your simple and your complex. Simple is your enriched cookies and white bread and candy and stuff like that. And complex has the fiber. So you want that. You want a good source of protein. So again, animal protein, plant-based protein, because that is the basic building block of the cell. And then you want good quality fats. And then at the very top, you would want your sugar and simple carbs. So I kind of reverse it.
And that makes sense, actually. We talked before, like I said, I did do your program, and I did actually learn a lot. But the thing is, I remember when I was first diagnosed, for one thing, they didn't even talk about getting a nutritionist or anything. That wasn't until probably 2018 that I learned anything about that. But for a long time, they were always telling us, not to use certain oils, but we could use canola oil. I learned something from you that I was really surprised, and now it's really, cannot use canola. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit? Because I know a lot of people, they use canola oil because that's something that we've always been encouraged to do, to give up other oils, but to use canola oil.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Canola oil is, again, one of those seed oils that is pro-inflammatory. So I talked about in the beginning how important it is to reduce inflammation. The reason is because canola, vegetable oil, soybean oil, peanut oil, it is how it is processed. So in some other time, maybe eons ago, the canola oil, the vegetable oil, which is mostly from corn, would have been non-GMO. It would have been cold pressed. It would be okay. But now it's how it is processed. So the canola or the corn is, first of all, genetically modified 9 out of 10 times. And then they take it through the system where they use high heat. And any oils, if any, you should know that all oils should not be heated, especially omega-3. So you put your fish oil in the fridge, your flaxseed oil, all these things should never be heated because they're very delicate. You may have heard olive oil, to keep them in dark bottles away from heat. Same thing, because if they get too hot, they become rancid. So what they do is they put it through high heat, it becomes rancid, and it has an awful smell. I mean, it is worse than if you were to pass a manure farm. It is a horrible smell. And so then they have to add deodorant and bleach to change the coloring and everything. And it goes through this process, so by the time it hits the shelf, it is rancid, deodorized, bleached, and your body cannot at all use any bit of it. It literally is a toxin going into the body, and it's like, what is this? It is a chemical. It's like drinking glyphosate. It's just that bad. And so the reason they do that is because it's shelf stable. So you can see it on the shelves. It doesn't get hard like some, you know, how some will, when they cool, like coconut oil, right? They become a little more solid. Some stay more liquid. It just stays there in their little clear bottle, getting even more rancid. And restaurants use it 99% of the time because, again, it doesn't matter if you're in Alaska or if you're in Arizona. It doesn't change, right? It's already, there's nothing food about it, right? It's a chemical at that point. So they can use it, and it's just kind of, it is what it is, liquid. So one of the first things I recommend to people is we look at their oils when we do pantry cleanouts or grocery store tours or anything, is what kind of oils are you using? And you can't really avoid at restaurants, but you can control what's at home. And so it's really bad.
So what oils do you recommend to use at home?
I recommend for low heat cooking, or if you're like drizzling on salad, extra virgin olive oil. For cooking, like baking or sauteing, coconut oil is good. I love avocado oil. Just again, be careful of the brand, because I just recently found out how a lot of them, they're using half canola oil and half avocado oil to save money. So I love brands such as Primal Kitchen and Chosen Foods. Those have good efficacy behind it. Let's see. So what I say, avocado oil, ghee. I love ghee, which is clarified butter. Makes things taste kind of that buttery, but it doesn't burn at the same smoke point that butter would. So I would use butter more for baking, which is really good as well. So those are kind of the main oils that I use.
Are these things you can find like at a general grocery store, or do you have to go to a specialty store?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find it most places. Ghee, I've seen it more and more at like the big box grocery stores. But olive oil, coconut oil, yeah, I'm seeing that more. You can use duck fat, lard. Remember, our parents used to use that. Using that is really good. So there's different forms depending on what you're cooking.
Okay, thank you. And I know we talked about antioxidants and fibers and stuff, but what vitamins and minerals are known to be, cancer prevention?
So I always tell people that it's very bio-individual. When I work with somebody one-on-one, I really am looking at their, as I mentioned, their epigenetics. So I'm using assessments and tools and tests to kind of look at where any nutritional deficiencies are. So I don't want to say this as a blanket system that everybody needs to be on this now. So I kind of set my little asterisk right there. But I will say that majority of people need to be on a high quality omega-3 fish oil. And quality, I'm going to underline that, is so important. Again, most fish oils on the market are rancid. I actually just learned about this, that it takes 24 to 36 months from the time they catch the fish to capsule. I don't know about you, Roberta, but I don't want to eat frozen fish 24 to 36 months later that's been sitting in my freezer. I'm kind of over it. So a lot of fish are rancid. And how you know is people have maybe experienced that fishy burp taste. That's an indication that it's rancid. It's one of the indications. So high quality omega-3, so important. Majority of people can be on that. A good vitamin D is really important. Most of the people in America are vitamin D deficient. And all the fat soluble vitamins. So vitamin A, which is really beneficial for the immune system. D, E, K. These are all really important. Having a good short chain fatty acids. So those are also known as the prebiotics, and they're feeding the good bacteria or the probiotics. So there's more evidence showing how important short chain fatty acid is for cancer prevention and cancer health. Similarly, I read an article recently how vitamin A was really, really imperative for cancer prevention. And then a good quality probiotic, again, feeding the gut microbiome to reduce inflammation. I'd say those are the main ones.
And where would you find these? And how do you know that you're getting a high quality? I mean, there's so many on the market that how do you know which ones are the good ones? And where do you go to get them? I think you
I'm
froze.
very picky about where I source my supplements. I work
We lost
closely
you for a
with-
minute there here, so maybe you have to ask the question again here.
Where to get all these vitamins and the supplements and minerals, how do we know what is good and where to go and find them?
So I'm very picky on what I use for supplements, and I use a practitioner-based database called FullScript with my clients, and I use them because they've been quality tested and assured, and the brands that I use, I have researched, I have spoken to the nutraceutical reps and really tested it myself. So to answer it plainly, I would avoid places like Costco and Amazon. Costco is great for a lot of things, just not supplements. Amazon, again, great for a lot of things, but not supplements, because oftentimes you can't trust what is being put in. I actually had my own personal experience when my mom was sick. We ordered some supplements, or a friend of ours had sent us some supplements from Amazon. Half the bottle was gone and it was open. And you just never know. So avoiding places like that, places like Sprouts and Whole Foods are better options. Or like the smaller chains like Mother's or, Nature's Grocers. But I would always recommend working with a functional doctor, a naturopath, a nutritionist, somebody that has done the research to see what would be the best for that person, and also dosage.
They always, tell us one of the cancer risks is obesity. What are your recommendations for us maintaining a healthy weight? And do you know why is that? Is it because of the sugar, or what is it about the obesity that is a cancer risk, a high cancer risk?
So there's a lot of things, but I'm going to go back to the basics. It's inflammation. So with obesity, we're carrying extra fat, visceral fat specifically, and that fat does a lot. First off, when we have more weight on us, that's indicating that there is insulin resistance, meaning there's too much insulin surrounding the bodies, and the cells are no longer able to take them in. The hotel is full, there is no more vacancy. So when that happens, it's circulating around, which creates a cascade of blood sugar imbalances, which then leads to hormonal imbalances, adrenal fatigue, endocrine problems. And so that's the first thing, that obesity is linked with insulin resistance and diabetes. The second thing is the visceral fat. It puts a lot of strain on our liver. And what I remember I talked about earlier about detoxing the liver. The liver has over 700 functions, but when we add this stress and strain, it can't function optimally. So imagine again, you have like a healthy liver and then you have all this visceral fat around it. Now it can't take in all the nutrients as it should. So it's a lot of stress on the body. The body has to work harder. It can create blockages. So again, that fat is pushing on certain blood vessels and, can create plaque, right? And hardening the arteries. So all of that is that inflammation and putting strain on the body that it cannot function optimally.
I have, obviously, there's a lot more I wanted to talk about, but we don't have a whole lot of time. But what I do want to ask you that I think is always important is, when you're doing chemo and you're going through treatment and you're losing weight and it's difficult to eat, and the doctors really, they're telling you, eat whatever you want, eat, drink the malts, have whatever it is, just to get the weight on, which, I understand, but at the same time, to me, it's almost like a double-edged sword. So what do you have any recommendation as to what is a good diet or good food that people can eat during chemo, but still, hopefully maintain weight and just be healthier than adding all that sugar back into their diet?
Absolutely. And I'm going to emphasize to anybody who is doing chemo to stay as far away from the sugar as possible. I really, really try to think about why somebody would recommend this, knowing, and they know too, that there is absolutely zero nutritional benefits of sugar. Zero. Not like a little thing at all. So why somebody recommend that maybe is to appease the person who's already feeling melancholy and stressed out. But really, I would emphasize fiber, antioxidant foods. Again, foods high in antioxidants, what I just listed a few of them. A lot of people that are going through chemo cannot properly digest protein. So focusing on more plant-based. Now, I'm a huge advocate of animal protein, but it's harder for the liver to digest. And when you're already being burdened by this chemical, right, we want to kind of help alleviate that burden. So focusing on more plant-based food, organic food, non-GMO, looking for, again, the quality of the food, hydration, making sure that you're getting enough protein, and that could be plant-based protein, healthy fats, especially like omega-3. So if you can eat wild-caught salmon, would be really beneficial because you're getting that protein plus the omega-3. Anchovies, sardines, like the smaller fish. Avocado is really good. Broccoli, kale, garlic. There's a lot of evidence about how beneficial that is. So again, focusing on the less processed foods and to support your system.
I think, Paul, did you have a question?
No, I'm just saying we're coming down to the last couple of
Okay.
minutes. I know I'm trying to give you a little extra time because I used up 10 of it asking my questions here. But
Okay, I just want to make sure. I didn't want to cut you out there if you had something
That's enough.
else. Okay. So can you tell us, Andrea, how can somebody, for one, get a hold of you if they want to get more involved in your program and what you're doing? How would they reach out to you?
So the best way is going to my website. It's risingrootsnutrition.com. And I can give you the website information to put on there. And that way you can book a free health assessment call. And we would just talk about exactly what we've been talking about. What are your health concerns? What are your goals? How can I support you? I have my cookbook that you mentioned that is a phenomenal cookbook for cancer prevention and for detoxing sugar. Has over 135 delicious recipes. And I've had numerous people who are like, oh my gosh, I love this. But it has everything from breakfast, lunch, dinners, and even desserts to enjoy. That's on my website as well for sale. And I wanted to say that for the month of April, I'm offering this group 15% off my cookbook if they type in the promo code PREVENT. So that's just something I want to give back. But another thing, I'm going to be launching a wonderful program next month. It's called the Metabolic Makeover Method, and it's a 12-week group coaching program where we're going to dive deeper into really optimizing the metabolism to help reduce inflammation, to help shed the weight, to help gain energy, and really balance the blood sugar. So I'm very excited about that, and all that information, again, is on my website. And if they go onto my website, they can sign up for my newsletter, and I'll be sending out all sorts of information on that.
Well, it sounds great, and thank you. And one thing I know you have a quote that I love, and I think of it all the time, is if you don't make time for your health, you'll be forced to make time for your illness, and I think that's really true. And as we leave today, I'd like to say, as long as you speak my name, I shall live forever, is dedicated to Kathy Hess, who was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in 2018, but we just recently lost her, and she was a health person as well, ate healthy, ran marathons, and was a true inspiration. So today's show is dedicated to her. And Andrea, I want to thank you for coming back again, and we'll do it again because you have so much information. I'd really love to share it again, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Powerful information. Information's hard to get, but easy to get. You come in here every time and join us on this Living Hope journey, your journey living with pancreatic cancer. And if you need help right away, lots of sources, lots of places. We've rattled them off before. We'll rattle them off again. There's Hirschberg, there's Let's Win PC, and there's certainly the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. In fact, there's a number we'll give you, 877-2-PAN-CAN for the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. For the OC Talk Radio Network, I'm Paul Roberts, thanking you for joining us, hoping you'll share this information, and most of all, you'll come back and share this journey with us that we call Living Hope.